Greetings everyone. In this video, you would see the calendar that Yahuah created from the beginning. You would see how it looks. You would also understand how it operates. And you will see how it aligns with our seasons and how it makes sense of some of the things that we see around us that are difficult to understand. I encourage you to watch it all the way through. Let's begin. Genesis chapters 1, verses 1 and 2. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And God said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And God said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. Genesis chapters 2, verses 1 to 3. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So what we can see here is the creation week. Day 1, the light. Day 2, the firmament. Day 3, vegetation, and also gathering the waters onto one place. Day 4, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Day 5, birds and fish. Day 6, the animals and us. And day 7, Yahuah rested. But you see, the luminaries that govern the days, the years, the months, the feasts, and the seasons, and so on, were created on day 4. So that is why the first day of the year will always be on the 4th day of creation week. So let us get into that. Let us understand how Yahuah's calendar works. The calendar that till this day we should still observe. But before we do that, let's read some verses from Jubilees chapter 6, as well as Enoch chapters 82. Jubilees chapter 6, verses 30 to 32. And all the days of the commandment will be 250 weeks of days. And these will make the entire year. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to the reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast. Enoch chapters 82, verses 4 to 6. Happy are all the just, happy all those who walk in the paths of justice, and have no sin like the sinners, in the counting of all their days, in which the sun goes through the heavens, entering and departing from the gates, each time 30 times, together with the heads of the thousands of this order of the stars, together with the 4 that are added and separate between the 4 portions of the year, which they lead and enter with them 4 days. And on their account men will be at fault, and will not count them in the reckoning of the whole world. But men will be mistaken, and will not know them exactly, for they belong to the reckoning of the year, and are exactly marked forever, one in the first portal, and one in the third, and one in the fourth, and one in the sixth, and the year is completed in 364 days. And the account of this is true, and the marked reckoning exact. For the luminaries and the months and the festivals and the years have been shown and given to me by Uriel, to whom the Lord of all creation had given command, in reference to me, of the hosts of the heavens. And he has power over night and day in the heavens, that he may show light over men, the sun and the moon and the stars, and all the powers of heaven which turn in their circuit. And this is the order of the stars that set in their places, and in their times, and in their festivals, and in their months. And these are the names of those who lead them, who watch that they enter in their times, and in their order, and in their occasions, and in their months, and in their powers, and in their positions. Therefore leaders who divide the 4 portions of the year enter first. After them, the 12 leaders of the orders, who separate the months and the year in 364 days, together with the heads of the thousands who divide the days for the 4 intercalary days. These are the leaders who separate the 4 parts of the years. The text just further explains who these leaders are, which are angels, whose jobs is to make sure that the celestial bodies stay on course. But what I want to speak about is the 4 intercalary days. The intercalary days are the days that separate the seasons. You see, according to the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees, there are 364 days in a year, each quarter having 91 days, making the 31st day at the end of each quarter an intercalary day. So right here on the screen, you can have an idea of how it looks. So what do we see here? We see that in both the books of Enoch and Jubilees says that the year is 364 days. 2 books speaking the same thing. Enoch said this, and Enoch was before the flood. Then came Moses after Noah, after Abraham, after Jacob, a descendant from Jacob, who is the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Moses coming from the tribe of Levi, hundreds and hundreds of years between Enoch and him, Moses. Moses receiving at Mount Sinai not just the 10 Commandments, but also Yahuah's calendar that should be observed forever. And we will now get into how this calendar works. So let's get into it. So as I said earlier, as a result of the celestial bodies being created on day 4, and as a result of the existence of those celestial bodies, that is how we tell time. The days, weekly Sabbaths, months, years, etc. So the first day of the year in Yahuah's calendar starts on day 4 of creation. So starting from there and counting 364 days would place you at the 3rd day of creation, which would be the last day, or the 364th day of the year. So this means that the first day of the year in Yahuah's calendar will always be on the 4th day. So what I am going to do while explaining this calendar, I am going to place on screen how the feast days and how the Sabbaths align with this calendar perfectly, year by year. No adjustments or changes to it. Let's get into it. So Leviticus chapters 23 verses 5 and 6 says that on the 14th day is the Lord's Passover, and on the 15th day is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So counting from day 1 in the 1st month of Abib to day 14 of the same month would place you on the day of Passover. So Passover would be on a Tuesday. Then the next day, which is day 15, would be the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is also a high day or a feast day Sabbath. This would be the Wednesday. Then on the 18th would be the weekly Sabbath. Then on the 21st would be the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is a 7-day feast, starting from the 15th, which would be a feast day Sabbath, and ending on the 21st, which is a feast day Sabbath or high day. And after that feast day is done, the Most High Yahuah called on Moses again and instructed Moses that when the children of Israel come into the land and they reap their harvest, that they should bring a sheaf of the first fruits. And Yahuah instructed them that they shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted on the morrow after the Sabbath, or the next day after the Sabbath. So which Sabbath before the morrow is this talking about? You see, some believe that it was the weekly Sabbath, which would be the 18th, making the 19th the Feast of First Fruits. But you know that the 21st was also a feast day Sabbath, and others would say that given that the 21st is a feast day Sabbath, that means the 22nd would be the morrow after the Sabbath, placing the Feast of First Fruits on the 22nd, that same Wednesday. I was one of those that believed that the weekly Sabbath in the same week that Yahushua was crucified was the Sabbath before the Feast of First Fruits. Because you see, in the 66 books of the Bible, they do not tell you which Sabbath it is. Or rather, I am subject to correction. I haven't seen it. But the Bible gives you a small clue, and the Dead Sea Scrolls let you know the actual Sabbath that is before the Feast of First Fruits. And the day of that Sabbath is the 25th of the month of Abib. You see, when you read Leviticus chapters 23, verses 8, it ends the 7-day feast of unleavened bread. And in verse 9 of Leviticus 23, Yahushua then introduced something new to Moses. So that feast ended on the 21st of Abib. So the next Sabbath would place you at the 25th. And also to add to that, check this out. Based on the Qumran calendarial text found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, specifically within the Mismarot or priestly courses, texts such as 4Q 325, often associated with 4Q 326 or 328. The Feast of First Fruits is part of a strictly solar 364-day calendar, according to the Essene or sectarian calendar observed at Qumran and described in 4Q 325. The Feast of First Fruits of barley is celebrated on the 26th day of the first month of Nisan. It is observed on a Sunday, the day following the weekly Sabbath that falls during the festival of unleavened bread, or often the Sunday immediately following it. And you see what they have here first. They say that it falls during the festival of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But we see how that cannot work, because that Sabbath falls within the week of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And that Sabbath started after the full Feast of Unleavened Bread. And as we read in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that weekly Sabbath was on the 25th, making the 26th of the month of Abib first fruits. And to add, there's a text in 1 Corinthians that is used to prove that the weekly Sabbath that fell within the 7 days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is the Sabbath that is before the Feast of First Fruits, making the day of the Feast of First Fruits the day after that Sabbath, which would place the Feast of First Fruits on the 19th of Abib. Let us read the text. 1 Corinthians chapters 15, verses 20 to 23. But now is Christ risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, Christ the firstfruits, after there that are Christ's at his coming. So what do we see here? We see Christ being the firstfruits from the dead, and that is correct. But the Bible never said that it was the weekly Sabbath within Passover week. You see, this Good Friday doctrine teaches this, that Christ was placed in the tomb on Good Friday just before the sunset, then spent the entire weekly Sabbath in the tomb, and then rose the Sunday morning, marking that same Sunday the Feast of First Fruits, and to many, Easter. And we know that this is false, because according to Matthew chapters 12, verses 38 to 40, it clearly states right here that there shall be no sign given but the sign of the prophet Jonas, who spent 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, and made a comparison of the time that Yahuah, the son of the Most High, will spend in the tomb. 3 days and 3 nights, 72 hours in total, spoken out of the mouth of Yahuah himself. And to say different would be calling Yahuah a liar. You cannot get 3 24-hour days starting from just before sunset all the way through to Sunday morning. So now that we established the day of the Feast of First Fruits, the next feast that follows is the Feast of Pentecost. Leviticus chapters 23, verses 15 and 16. And ye shall come unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. So what it is saying here is that we count 50 days starting from the Feast of First Fruits, and the 50th day would be the day of Pentecost. So let's start counting. So starting from First Fruits, which is the 26th of Abib or Nisan, through the 2nd month of the year, which is the month of Ziph, to the 15th day of the 3rd month of Sivan, which is the day of Pentecost. So we then bypass the 4th month, which is the month of Tammuz, and the 5th month, which is the month of Av, and the 6th month, which is the month of Elul, which takes us to the 7th month of Etanim. So there are 3 feast days in this month: Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, and Feast of Tabernacle. So let's get into it. Leviticus chapters 23, verses 23 to 25. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So this is what is known as the Feast of Trumpets, and it starts on the 1st of the 7th month. Moving forward to the next feast, Leviticus chapters 23, verses 26 to 28. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. So this is the day of atonement, when the high priest would go in once a year inside of the most holy place to atone for the sins of Israel by sacrificing a bull and a goat, then sending the scapegoat out into the wilderness, far away from the camp, never to return. To get more detail on this, you can go to the book of Leviticus chapters 16. Now moving on to the last feast day, which is called the Feast of Tabernacles. Leviticus chapters 23, verses 34 to 38. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of the 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles, for 7 days unto the Lord. On the first day shall be an holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. So 5 days after the Day of Atonement is the Feast of Tabernacles. You see, the Feast of Tabernacles is a 7-day feast, a feast of joy and celebration, where the children of Israel would be in booths, eating and drinking and having fellowship amongst each other. The first day, which is the 15th, would be a feast day Sabbath, and the 8th day also will be a feast day Sabbath or a high day. You see, the Bible also clearly says that this same Feast of Tabernacles will be kept when Yahushua returns the second time. Throughout the 1,000-year reign of Christ, not in heaven, but on earth. Texts like Revelation chapter 5, verses 9 and 10, Daniel chapter 7, verses 27, Isaiah chapters 11, Revelation chapters 2, verses 26 and 27, Revelation chapters 19, verses 15, and more. These texts, although there are more texts that can be added to these, paints a clear picture that the 1,000-year reign of Christ will be here on earth. And the reason why I say that is because the Feast of Tabernacles is going to be kept in the 1,000-year reign of Christ, because everyone will have to keep it. You see, Christ will be king, and him and his saints will rule over the nations with a rod of iron, because, you see, the saints will not be ruled over with a rod of iron. Because according to Revelation chapters 2, verses 26 and 27, it is them who will be ruling over these nations as well. So back to the Feast of Tabernacles. You see, in the book of Zechariah 14, speak about this. So let's go there. Zechariah 14, verses 9, And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. So this is when Yahushua comes here on earth to rule, which hasn't happened as yet, because it is in our future. Let's move forward. I am going to skip down to verses 16 for the sake of time. Zechariah 14, verses 16 to 18. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which come up against Jerusalem shall go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. I strongly encourage you to read the full chapter, because you will get more detail. But when you put the text together that I mentioned earlier about Christ ruling on earth and combine it with what I just read, you would get a very clear picture. But moving on. So next would be the coming months, like the month of Bull, which is the 8th month, and the month of Chislev, which is the 9th month, followed by the month of Tibet, the 10th. Then comes the 11th month of Sibat, and then the 12th month of the year, being the last month of the year, is the month of Adar. I hope that this video would have helped you to understand how the calendar works. The calendar that Yahuah created from the beginning. Yahuah blessed.